Namaste, Swagatam, Vanakkam, from whichever part of the world you are joining me. Thank you for taking time out of your life to be with me and enable us to share these teachings further. Let us invoke the lineage, the tradition of all the great masters of yoga. Tadparamparya vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya dhimahi Tanno Guruhu Prachodayate Om Yoga Maharshi Dr. Swami Gitananda Giriji Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. We have been looking at the Savitri Pranayama, one of the key foundational practices of the Gitananda tradition. This pranayama is based on utilizing all the four aspects of the breathing process. So when we talk about pranayama, we are talking about the process of inhalation, held in, exhalation, held out. And I'm using the modern terms for it. That are terms used for the traditional terms of Puraka, Kumbhaka, Rechaka, Shunyaka. The term for the held out in the Gitananda tradition is Shunyaka, which is like a vacuum state. After breathing out, you are experiencing a vacuum state. Now, normally when we translate this, we translate Puraka as inhalation, Rechaka as exhalation, but actually they are not the same. And this is more for convenience sake that we are doing this. It is more a convenient translation rather than reality. Because when we talk about pranayama, prana and ayama, it is the enhancement of our experience of prana. Prana is already expanded. You don't have to expand it. That feeling that I am going to expand prana is the biggest megalomaniac, egotistical statement you can think. It's like, I'm going to activate the chakras. The chakras are already activated. You are the one who is disconnected to them. The prana is already expanded. The prana is life. Life is already expanded. Prana is the universe. The universe is already expanded. We need to enhance our experience of the prana. Okay, so pranayama is enhancing our experience of the prana. You are not doing anything to the prana. It is already wonderful in itself. So we are using these terms, and one of the days I'll go very much into detail here, because as you inhale, you are experiencing the universal prana coming into you. As you hold the breath in, you are expanding your understanding, your experience. What are you experiencing? The possibility of the universe in you. When you breathe out, you are experiencing the individual prana becoming part of the universal prana. And in Shunyaka, you are experiencing the potential you, the individuality in the universality. So it is an experience, and that is why all of Patanjali's Ashta Anga are states of experiential being. or experiential states of being. They are not something you actually do. That's a different topic. So in Savitri, we utilize all the four components. Puraka and Rechaka are for a single duration. Kumbhaka and Shunyaka are for half the duration. 2, 1, 2, 1. Rectangle is one way to think about it. Now when we are talking about the Savitri, the 2121 is the basic structure, and on this structure, the basic ratio. On this basic structure, a ratio structure, you place what are called various thala, T-A-L-A. Thala means a rhythmic pattern. So thalas are the rhythmic patterns that are placed on this. So you have 2121, you take the one thala, which means you multiply 1 into that. So 2121 is already a 1 thala. If you go to the 2 thala, it is now 2 into it. So 4242. 4242 is the 2 thala. The 3 thala is 3 into it. So 6363 becomes the 3 thala. The 4 thala is the 8484. 5 thala is the 10515. 6 thala 126 126. 7 thala 14 7 14 7. And 8 thala 16 8 16 8. It can go all the way up to what would be the 16 thala, which would be 32 16 32 16. That is way beyond us. If we get to 16 8 16 8 itself, it is a big achievement, and Swamiji used to say it is the Siddha rhythm. Each of these rhythms in the Savitri, Swamiji has told us that they have specific effects, because they are done for different thalas. So I have shared this morning a page from his monumental step-by-step correspondence course, Yoga Step-by-Step. And the reason I shared it is it's an amazing document of how he has experienced these teachings and shared with us. And Swamiji tells us that the 2121, that is a 1 thala, he says basically all it does is increases the respiratory rate. Because what is happening? You are breathing in for 2 seconds, holding for 1, out for 2, holding for 1. So it is basically 6 seconds. But even to me, even if you take 6 seconds for each cycle, that's only 10 cycles in a minute, which is not too bad. Most people are horrible in that. Most people are breathing 18, 20 times a minute because they're breathing so shallow. Swamiji says that this is actually having no lasting effect, and he says it is just more a body response to pain and to a state where you are not at ease. So 2-1 is not really ever used, except as we did last week in the Nadi Shodhan, Nadi Shuddhi as part of the cleansing practice. When it comes to the 2 thala, 4242, Swamiji has said it is a good rhythm for a child wishing a beneficial pranayama, anyone convalescing from sickness or surgery, or a heart patient wanting to correct the damage done to the heart by faulty breathing. Useful for people who have asthma, and it promotes growth by glandular stimulation. That the glandular system is stimulated, and hence by stimulating the glandular system you are working on growth. So the 4242 is having an effect that is okay, especially in a therapeutic setting. For example, at ICYER we are working in a clinical setting. So people are coming who have many physical, mental, emotional issues. And a 4-2 may be a good place to start, just to help them regain some positive control over their own breathing apparatus. Swamiji says that in the ultimate results, he says, this rhythm is too short a duration to be beneficial over a long period of time. But he said the person should try to extend to a longer count with practice and go up to at least the 8-4-8-4. So, though you are using the 4-2, do not stop there. He then comes on to the next component, which is the 6-3. And this is a component that I have sort of been using a lot with many people. Because in my experience, I have found that people are just not able to do the higher ratios. So 6-3, Swamiji has said it is beneficial for a narrow-chested woman or an undeveloped teenager or an adult suffering from emotional swings. And he even uses the word manic depression, which today would be basically the bipolar that is so common in most of us. So the 6-3 is a practice that is very, very useful. It's the 3 tala. And in another place he says the 3 tala helps balance the emotions. The emotions are a major problem in the modern human being. Hence, when we do the 6-3-6-3, we are helping balance the emotions. And if we can reduce the emotional volatility, the emotional overreactivity, which is so common as the root source of so many problems, we will actually be helping people a lot. And Swamiji mentions that this is one of the best means to infuse prana into the emotional body. The emotional body is the pranamaya kosha. In the yogic system, we have the pancha kosha or the panchamaya. And you have the annamaya, the physical, and then you have the pranamaya, which is the functional physiological part associated with the lower emotions, which are primitive emotions. And this is a means, one of the best means to infuse prana into the emotional body to get control over radical emotional swings, the emotional volatility, which is basically our raga dvesha, the likes and the dislikes which are coming in, pulling us either towards something we like or something we dislike, and there's this huge swing happening from one end to the other. And what the 6-3 rhythm is doing, the 3 tala is doing, is giving a sense of stability over the emotional volatility. Swamiji then goes on to describe the 8-4, which is now the 4 tala. And he says, before I go back to that, he says the 2 tala for growth, so 4-2 for growth. So especially if you are trying to introduce pranayama to young children who are in the growing phase, the 4-2 would be very useful to help them grow and manifest their growth potential. Okay, so this is a very, very important place to work. So with young children who are growing, the 2 tala for helping growth, glandular system. And when they become teenagers, the 3 tala, 6-3, emotionality is so high in teenagers. The problem? Most of us adults have not come out of that. We are still caught in those terrible teens, even when we are past our terrible 30s, into our fearsome 40s. Even at that stage, that emotionality is so strong. So yes, Bernadette, the 3 tala would be very, very useful for all of us. I think I need to do a bit more of that. Especially during this time, everybody, the emotions are at such a height, because, we are like caged animals. With our dogs in the ashram, so many times you have seen it. You tie them up or you lock them into a room, they will keep on barking, protesting. You take that leash off, they will be in that same place where they were earlier. But now they are happy. They would have been on the inside of the door, now they'll just be on the outside of the door. They're in the same place. They have not gone someplace else. But now they're happy. So it's not about whether they were in the room or in that place. It was the leash or the feeling of being locked up. The feeling that I do not have the freedom to do what I choose to do. And that is what we are all experiencing right now. My cousin Jennifer shared a beautiful article, and it was really wonderful, and she was talking about, the article talks about this very deeply. And I think this is why we need to understand that we can choose to stay where we are rather than have the government tell us where to be. And that is where it is not a legal, political, or even a health issue. It is a moral responsibility. And this is where, as Ammaji the other day said, the moral law, the Dharma Rai, which is our responsibility to follow. And I'm not talking about morality brought in from externally. I'm talking about an inner sense of morality, not something again pushed down our throat. That is what will help us. So 4-2 for growth, physical especially, glandular physical growth. 6-3 for emotional stability. And then Swamiji talks about 8-4. And here he is talking about the rejuvenating capacity of 8-4. He says this rhythm, it is in harmony with the cellular vibration. I love these, the way Swamiji has used the language. The 8-4, what is 8 and 4? It is structure. 4 is structure. So the fourth tala is about structure. And what structure? The structure that we externalize. And that is our physical body. Okay? So the physical body that we externalize, that is the material stuff we have, is actually related to 8-4. This rhythm is in harmony with the cellular vibration of the body, muscles, and the skeletal structure. The number 4 is structure. In Yantra, the number 4 is structure. And hence the fourth tala, which is then 8-4-8-4, is primarily based on structure. It is the best rhythm to strengthen and rejuvenate the body. It is the best rhythm to strengthen and rejuvenate the body. And that is why on a long term, Swamiji says, excellent physical health is afforded and proper electrolytic balance of the cells maintained. Now, at the cellular level, the electrolyte balance is very essential. And the sodium, the potassium, how are they interacting? How is the chloride shift occurring? The chloride shift is a very important component when you are breathing, and that induces the acidosis or the alkalosis. How are these electrolytes being maintained? Are they being maintained as they should be within the proper framework? Again, 4 framework. So, excellent physical health is afforded and proper electrolytic balance of the cells maintained. This promotes optimal health. I love that word, optimal health. Each individual's level of optimal health is different. Otherwise, we are just a statistic. The biggest issue with the modern lab values is that we are all just a bit of a statistic. And so you take 1,000 people and you find the values and you make the average of it and you make a bell-shaped curve, and then you say that this mean, the average, and 2 standard deviations on either side, plus or minus 2 standard deviations, is normal. Anyone on that end or anyone on this end is abnormal. Now the other end should actually be supernormal and they should be subnormal, but both are considered abnormal. So if you are too healthy, you can also be abnormal. This was a question we used to ask ourselves in yoga research. If you do research on the so-called normal people, do they become subnormal? And that is why people like to do it on abnormal people, because then you say abnormal becomes normal. But on normal people, what happens? If somebody has good health, that's normal. If your blood pressure is in the normal range, does it make you subnormal? If your blood sugar is in the normal range, does it make you subnormal? So I think this is where we have to understand that each one of us is an individual, and hence our level of optimal health will be different than somebody else. No comparison. But for the sake of society and for the sake of having a system, we have been put as a statistic, and so we have these normal values. And so then if your blood pressure is more than even 120 by 80 these days, you are already pre-hypertensive. And that is frightening, because I don't think it's a good idea, because there's a lot of variation in human beings. Lot of variation. And we are not really giving space for variability. Everybody cannot be a clone. So 8-4 is an amazing rhythm that Swamiji says it's a good rhythm for the body quietness and body meditation. I love those words. Body quietness and body meditation, which means basically to be still. Because when the body is still, the mind can become still. But if the body is not still, it will be very difficult for the mind to be still. The psyche and the soma are very, very much connected. And that is why the Adi Vyadi concept of yoga is paramount to understand what human beings are. So today we have looked at the 1, 2, 3, 4 Tala, which means a pattern of 2-1-2-1, 4-2-4-2, 6-3-6-3 and 8-4-8-4. And these patterns, 2-1-2-1 is basically just happening as a natural result. You would not use it much except in Nadi Shodhan, where we are inducing that in order to cleanse the Nadi system. 4-2 mainly for those who are in recovery and for young children to promote anabolism. Swamiji has not used that word, but that is what is implied. The anabolic activity, which is the healing activity, is actually being induced by the 4-2. So if you have somebody who needs anabolic activity, now I can see all you sports people out there, will it give us the anabolic steroid activity? No. Huh? Is it going to make you Superman? No. Will it make you yourself? Yes. Will it make you the best you at that level? Yes. So 4-2 is an anabolic activator. And anabolism is how you grow and how you heal. So somebody who's in a hospital ICU, intensive care unit, somebody who's recovering post-surgery, postpartum, when the mothers have given birth, there are a lot of postpartum blues. Depression is very common in such people. Such moments of 4-2-4-2 will help a lot, because what it is doing, it is giving the anabolic activity to start healing. And then for the postpartum blues, bring in the 6-3-6-3, the emotional volatility will be taken care, and you will have healthy motherhood. A pleasant, healthy motherhood, which, as Ammaji said, is such a divine experience. So 4-2 has its place, especially as a therapy. So in a therapeutic setting, such as ICYER of Balaji Vidyapeeth and other people who are doing any therapeutic setting, I know many of you. Gargi is online. She was wondering whether she had missed my live broadcast today and was like, "Are you online yet?" I was just coming up the stairs. She works in, patient care, where, you're dealing with people who have lost the health, and you want to help them regain it. Now, in such a situation, 4-2 definitely is good, because the anabolic activity will help the healing process, the repair, regeneration, and all of that. But then there's a lot of emotionality, so you start to enhance the person to 6-3, and you deal with the emotional aspects, and then 8-4 to give structural integrity. You are helping every cell function as it should. Every part of the body function as it should. As Swamiji said, that optimal health, 8-4, that is why he used to use 8-4 a lot. I have been more prejudiced towards 6-3. It has been a bit of my favoritism is 6-3, because somehow I feel that the emotional part in modern human beings is a major issue. So I have usually somehow 6-3, because 6 is the number of responsibility in yantra. And I think if we can teach the human race one thing, it is responsibility. I think that is the biggest lesson we need to learn. And this moment, the COVID-19 catalyst, is actually a moment where we can learn about being responsible human beings. And responsibility is what dharma is. So for me, that attraction to 6 is a very special attraction. So I get into that 6-3 because of it. But as a kid, I remember Swamiji always, 8-4 was his favorite. So whether they were doing Shavasana, because in Shavasana we do Savitri a lot, because it's a beautiful combination. And tomorrow I'll talk about that Savitri Shavasana, because it's worth a separate session. And I have a good talk on YouTube. Highly recommended, because it is me. Huh? That's the gangster yogi part. I'll come back for that. Okay, I'll come back. That's a separate session. That's not this session. I have to keep my Jekyll and Hyde separate. 8-4 used to be the pattern Swamiji used a lot. And be it, the moment he asked people to lie down in Shavasana, you knew then 8-4 was coming. Whether you did the Anuloma Viloma or the Aloma Viloma or the Yoga Nidra, it didn't matter what you were going to do. 8-4 was the rhythm coming, and Swamiji would be 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2. And you would hear this clapping go on in the class, and Savitri Pranayama was going on there, and Swamiji was clapping away to glory as the students enjoyed the experience of the Savitri. Huh? I keep the count going, because otherwise I'll forget it. Huh? He didn't have to count; it would just be happening. Now, it happens with my music. I don't have to count. But when I'm leading, I try to not lose myself. I once lost myself in New Zealand, and that was at the Lotus Center down in Parapara. This Parapara is a very interesting one, because it sounds like Parampara. We talk about Parampara in India, the lineage, the tradition. And there's a Lotus Center run by Eric, Catherine, and my dear Kiwi yogis down there, yogis and yoginis down there. And we were giving a retreat, and I was teaching a session, and at the end I thought, I'm anyway going to help them through the relaxation. I'm just guiding the relaxation and counting, right? So why not I also lie down? So what happened is I also lay down in Shavasana, and I started counting and going on. And then what happened was I started guiding them through the Marmanastanam, the part by part relaxation. So we were, relax your toes, relax your ankles, let the relaxation seep up into your calf muscles and up to your knees. And all this was going on, and I'd come up someplace to my head, and suddenly I heard myself say, and relax your computer. That's the day I realized, never again lie down for relaxation while you're guiding it. Huh? That is why one has to be very, very careful. One has to be very careful about it. Yeah, coming back, I have a question from Manjari Prabhu in Pune, an amazing writer, an amazing person who's doing wonderful work. And yes, there's a quick question. When we do pranayama, can we directly begin 8-4? Do we have to go from 2-1 to 1? We can actually do the 8-4 straight away if we are capable of doing it. So basically, it depends on the individual sort of endurance, lung function, and breathing capacity. So if somebody has a good breath capacity and is able to breathe for a period of time, they have the strength and the endurance, yes, we could go straight for 8-4, and you don't have to go from 2-1. But normally, my own sort of experience in this is practice 4-2 also is not an issue. 6-3 is a good place to start, in fact. And I feel that 6-3, when you start with the 6-3, what you are doing actually is that you are sort of getting a hold on yourself, because the emotionality and the breathing are very much related. This is why respiratory issues, asthma, bronchitis, chronic obstructive lung disorders or airway disorders are very much linked to emotionality. And so whenever our emotions become more volatile, the respiratory system reacts by tightening up. Just as, when we tight up with the emotions and we tight up. So 6-3 is a good place to start, and then let that 6-3 grow into the 8-4. So this is just a suggestion that I am, as I said, I'm prejudiced in favor of 6-3. So that's sort of where I am, but nothing wrong. If one can do 8-4, definitely yes. Because when you're doing 8-4, it's basically 24 seconds per cycle. So less than 3 breaths per minute. So many people may not be able to do that straight away. Whereas 18 is about 4 or 5 breaths per minute, which is a bit more doable. 6 breaths per minute is very doable. That is why the 4-2 is about 5 breaths per minute, 5 to 6 breaths. So it's very, very, very useful. Okay. Then Shrikant from Canada asks, can you please talk about pranayamas that are better not to be done in the evening or late at night, specifically in relation to those you have been covering? Yeah. See, any pranayama that sort of activates you, and this was one of the issues I was thinking about the other day when we were doing the Nadi Shodhan, Nadi Shuddhi, that the Nadi Shodhan part is such a rough cleansing that if somebody was watching me at night from their country and doing it, most probably I was the cause of their insomnia for that night. So definitely there are issues with it. So I would say any practice which is activating would be better to be avoided at night before going to sleep. Before sleep, the best one, of course, is slow deep breathing is very, very useful. Slow deep breathing is very, very useful of any form. 6-3 or 8-4 Savitri and Shavasana will induce a beautiful sleep. The other one is, of course, the Brahmari. Brahmari is a very, very useful one for sleep, in fact, because it really is like a beautiful tranquilizer. It's like somebody has shot you with a tranquilizer dart, and you know how those elephants just collapse, you go into a nice slumber. Brahmari is very good at night. In fact, some people say it should be done at midnight. I'm not telling you to wake up at midnight and do it, but that's there. But yes, anything that is activatory, one should be careful. And this used to happen with the Mantralaya, where we do the chanting related to the chakras. And my father used to have the satsanga. It used to start at 7 and go on till 10, 10:30, 11. And what would happen is, towards the end, he would start doing the chanting with people. And the Mantralaya just really, really upgrades your nervous system so much that nobody could sleep. So I have shifted it from that post-satsanga time to my evening mantra session before dinner, so that people have a couple of hours to unwind after it so that they can sleep. So definitely some of these practices, see, the major thing with yoga is it works if done properly. And I remember, I'll end with this today, because otherwise it's a never-ending story. But I remember one of my father's students in Australia, and she said, on one of my first trips to Australia when I met her, June Henry, she is an amazing, one of the top psychologist of Australia and a very beautiful human being who has given me so much blessings. And she said, you know, Dr. Ananda, the problem with your father's teachings, the problem with your father's teachings is that they work. Made me think a bit. Because isn't that why we are doing it? But she said the problem is people are using all these teachings as pacifiers so that they can relax better, that's all. Now, many of the practices are not meant for you to relax better. They are meant to help you be at your peak functioning. So one has to be very, very careful with these practices. They are not throwaway practices. Anyway, let's keep that for tomorrow, where we'll continue our discussion and maybe a bit of a practice, because today I've gone a bit longer than usual. See you all soon. Have a nice day.